Hi, I'm Mike Petrilli, an executive editor at Education Next. I'm here today with Andy Smarick, who has a new piece in the forthcoming issue of Education Next about school turnarounds. Andy, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, Secretary of Education Arne Duncan has been talking a lot about turning around failing schools. In fact, he wants to turn around 5,000 low-performing schools. There's some money in the stimulus to help with that. Yet your article is very skeptical about this strategy. Why is that?
A couple reasons. First, the evidence in education doesn't suggest to us that we have nearly as many providers needed to do this kind of job, and the evidence from other sectors say that turnarounds really don't work all that well. So the idea that we can do 5,000 in education quickly, there's just no reason to believe that that's possible.
Okay, but I would imagine that the folks in the Obama administration would say, look, we're going to put historic, unprecedented resources towards this. We're putting, I think it's the neighborhood of what, $2 or $3 billion for school turnarounds. That's going to attract a lot of talent into this field. People will develop the capacity to do these things. What's wrong with that argument?
Well, first of all, it's not like we haven't tried to turn around schools for the past 40 years. We've had low-performing schools in low income areas for decades and decades, and people have tried to fix this. We've had the Gates Foundation try to fix this. We've had all types of, the Annenberg group tried to fix this as well. So smart people have spent a lot of money on in the past on this, and it hasn't worked.
Why hasn't it worked? What's the basic problem with the turnaround strategy? I mean, this seems like common sense. You've got a failing school, put in new resources, new people, new curriculum, turn it around. Why not?
Well, why do the hundreds and thousands of businesses every year that go out of business, why can't they be turned around? We have to realize that in all sectors, in all fields, in all industries, sometimes there are broken institutions, and our schools are no different. We can try for years to turn them around, but if that just doesn't work, let's close them down and start new schools, which has turned out to be much more successful.
Okay, so let's talk about that strategy. So you mean close down the school, maybe reopen it as a charter school, for example?
In general, charter schools, if they have the right components to them, freedom to hire and fire, freedom to have a longer school day, that's the model that would be much more successful.
Okay, but other critics would say, look, when you look at the evidence on charter schools, there's a lot of charter schools that get started and they fail too. And in fact, some evidence that says, maybe in terms of on average, or whether or not charter schools are any better than traditional public schools.
There's no doubt about that, and I can't guarantee you that every new restaurant will be good. I can't guarantee you that every new technology firm will be good. But new starts are the way that we got KIPP and the way we got Amistad and Achievement First and Uncommon Schools, and new starts are the way that we got Google and Facebook and all the great, wonderful things in other industries. We have to realize that starts aren't necessarily always going to be great, but they're the way that you bring churn into an industry and make it better over time.
Okay. One last question. So it looks like, regardless of your own critique, the Obama administration is going to go ahead and they're going to try to turn around some of these schools. What do you expect to see in the next couple of years? Do you think there will be some success stories?
I think the fascinating thing is if you look back on research done by New Schools Venture Fund and other groups, the very best CMOs, organizations that run schools, they don't want to get in the business of turnaround. So even though Secretary Duncan had this call to arms at the National Charter Schools Conference asking KIPP and Achievement First to change their model and go into turnarounds, I actually think the story is going to be his call to arms is going to lead a lot of these CMOs saying thanks but no thanks. We start new schools and that's why we're successful.
Okay, time will tell. Andy Smarick, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.